In this video, we are going to talk about distributive principle. So first, when do we use the distributive principle? When we have to have at least two operations involved. We must have a multiplication. So we have like something times. So let me just draw a box to represent something. Times, so this has to be a times, and then we must have parentheses, and inside the parentheses we must have either a plus sign between them. So we have something plus say something here. Well, and so notice that we have a multiplication on the outside in front of the parentheses. It could also be moved behind the parentheses, but we can, because multiplication is commutative, so we can switch them. So usually we put this term in front of the parentheses. So that's one case. Or we could have something times, still has to be times, something minus something. So it has to have this format. Notice that we must have times, we must have parentheses. Inside the parentheses, we must have either a plus sign or a minus sign. So this is what it looks like. So something times something plus or minus something inside the parentheses. Okay, so if we have, if this is not a multiplication, if it's plus or minus, and you will not be able to use distributive principle. The same here. If the inside is not plus or minus, if it's another times, you will not be able to use distributive principle. Okay, so let's take a look at what is the distributive principle and how to use it. So we can start with a very simple example. Suppose we have two apples. So I'm going to use the letter A to represent apple. And we're gonna use plus sign to represent it. 3 bananas, we use B to represent bananas. So this is what we have, both of them. And suppose we want to double what we have. So we're gonna double means 2 times. So we put a 2 times what we have. So what do we have? Not just the 2 apples, not just 3 bananas, we have both of them. So what we have, we got to put them inside the parentheses. So when we do multiplication, if we think about it, when we try to double what we have to double 2 things. And not only 2 apples will be doubled, but also 3 bananas. So we get 4 apples and is plus sign, 6 bananas. And how did we get 4 apples? As you can see, we double 2 apples we have. And what we do is when we double 2 apples, we multiply 2a by 2. And when we double 3 bananas we have, we multiply 3 bananas by 2. So it's like multiplying what we have, because we have 2 things. In mathematics, we call it 2 terms. So we got this is our first term, 2a. And 3 bananas, that's our second term. If we want to multiply 2 terms by something, we have to multiply each of them by that number. So what we can do is you can move this 2 and put on top of each term. So you will remember you're supposed to multiply each number by the number in front of it. And so let's see here, we can do, so when we do it, we move the 2 in front of the parentheses and put it on top of it, and we multiply 2 and a 2, and then copy A, multiply 2 and a 3, and copy B. So that's how we get 4a and 6b. The reason we call it distributive principle it's kind of like we distribute the 2. 2 is like a common 2. In front of 2 apples and 3 bananas, we distribute this 2 to both of the terms we have, and when we distribute, because it's a multiplication between this number and the terms inside the parentheses, so we do this multiplication. And so that's we do 2 times 2a, we got 4a, and we can do this 2 times 3b, positive 3b, so we got a positive 6b. All right, so this is how this is distributive principle, and this is how we use it. And we can look at some more examples here. Suppose the number inside of the parentheses is a negative number. Say we have negative 3 times 2a minus 3b. So in that case, we try to verify we do have this format. What's the format? There's a times. Look for times. We do it between the number negative 3 and the parentheses. There's nothing, which means times. So let's put a dot back to remind us there's a multiplication here. And inside the parentheses, we're looking for either a plus sign or a minus sign. It cannot be anything else. And we do find a minus sign here. And that means, okay, we can use distributive principle. So now let's just distribute. Notice that the number we're going to distribute is negative 3. So both this is a signed number. Both number 3 and the sign in front of it, negative sign, have to be distributed. So to avoid making mistakes, this is something we can do. We can move the number negative 3 and put on top of this and try to do it vertically. So we're going to gonna multiply negative 3 and 2a. That will give us negative 6a. Because negative 3, negative times positive is negative. 3 times 2 is 6. And then copy the letter A. And the second part, we got to be very careful because we're multiplying negative 3 and a negative 3. We know two negatives make a positive. So we got a positive. 3 times 3, that's 9. And copy the letter B. We do actually negative 3 times 3 times negative 3b. So the final answer is negative 6a plus 9b. We can also look at problems with fraction in there. So for example, we have say 2/5 times 10a minus 5b. So the number we want to distribute this time is a fraction, 2/5. This time, in this case, we would want to write down clearly. So the number we're going to distribute is 2/5. So you can still put 2/5 on top of it, but we're going to write down the next step. So we're doing 2/5 times 10a minus 2/5 times 5b. Over here, there are fraction multiplications involved. So we're going to multiply 2/5 and 10 and 2/5 and 5. And in order to multiply 2/5 and 10, we know we have to put both of them in the fractional form and reduce the fraction or multiply straight across. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put 10 over 1 and 5 over 1 here. So they all both look like fractions. So in order to multiply 2 over 5 and 10 over 1, we're going to either multiply straight across. So we get 2 top times top, 20, bottom times bottom, 5, 20 over 5. That's we can put it on the scratch paper. Maybe put it up here. So top times top, bottom times bottom. And make sure you reduce that. You can reduce that to a 4. The quicker way is you can reduce this 5 and this 10 to a 2 here. So 5 is reduced to 1. And you can multiply straight across, top times top. That just gives us a 4. The bottom times bottom, 1 times 1 can be omitted. And we copy the letter A. And similarly, we can reduce this 5 and that 5, both of them to 1. And now we do top times top, which is a 2, bottom times bottom, that's a 1, that can be omitted. And minus sign, we still copy it. So there's a minus sign between them, and we still copy that minus sign. So the answer is 4A minus 2B.